Good afternoon and welcome to the Boring Millionaire podcast. Today's Tuesday, August 19th, and in this episode, I want to discuss the 5 stocks that are my favorites this week, why they're my favorites, and how you could purchase them no matter what your budget is. So the first stock I want to discuss this week is Doordash. Now, Doordash, we're all pretty familiar with, but if you're unfamiliar, it's basically a personal taxi service for your food. I would actually expand on that. Doordash could provide delivery services for medicines, regular shopping items, food, groceries. So you name it, they'll bring it to you. And with that, they're innovating the future and the world that we live in. So as I always like to say, I love investing in stocks that mold our day-to-day lives and shape the world that we live in. And DoorDash is certainly doing that. So for those reasons, I'm an investor in the stock, and the stock is also trading currently at its 3-month average. So I love to see stocks trading at their 3-month average because 9.5 times out of 10, you will see it move upward from that metric. So for those reasons, I'm a buyer of DoorDash this week. And then the second stock I'm buying this week is Caterpillar. Now, Caterpillar is the manufacturer of a lot of construction vehicles and machinery. You'll see tow trucks, cranes, dump trucks, things of that nature with Caterpillar branded all over it. So they are the unquestionable leader in that space. And for that reason alone, I want to be an investor in Caterpillar, but they're also trading at their 3-month average this week. So these 2 stocks have been trending upward over the past 5 or 6 months. And now they're taking a little bit of a breather from their all-time highs and trading at that 3-month average. So for those reasons, I'm a lover of those stocks. And those are signals to me that are telling me they are opportune to be bought right now. So those are 2 of my 5 stocks this week. And the third one I would like to move on to is Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola is another household name. They're a brand that shapes the world that we live in and our day-to-day lives. But they also pay a 3% dividend on those shares. So what a dividend is, it's an income that companies will pay you just for owning their shares. So the general idea of the stock market is you would want to put your money into something, and then over a course of time, it'll grow in value. Now, while you're waiting for that to come to fruition, some companies will pay you a dividend for the wait. Now, every 3 months, Coca-Cola will pay you a little bit of money just for owning the shares. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to put in a certain amount. You just get paid your value for the amount of shares that you have. And that creates a silent background income. And for that reason, I'm a lover of dividend paying stocks. And for all of those reasons, I'm buying Coca-Cola this week. Now, the 4th stock I would like to move on to is Microsoft. Microsoft is one of the leaders of the stock market, as well as one of the leaders just in the way we live in our day-to-day lives. They mold a lot of things, and their portfolio expands to many different industries. So they are a solid company to be investing in to have your money move forward to a better financial future. And they also pay just over a 0.5% dividend. So not as exciting as Coca-Cola at 3%, but you're still getting paid an income for owning these shares and owning Microsoft, owning something that has its grip on the world that we live in. So for all those reasons, I'm a buyer of Microsoft. Now, the 5th stock I'm buying this week is actually not a stock, but it is Bitcoin. And if you are a little unfamiliar or you don't want to navigate the procedures of buying Bitcoin itself, what you can buy is the Grayscale Bitcoin Fund. Now, what that is, that's a fund of money that this company will use to trade Bitcoin. And similarly to Bitcoin, you would be able to follow the pace of Bitcoin and appreciate the same way that Bitcoin is. But to speak in terms of the coin itself, I am a buyer of Bitcoin this week. We did see a pretty significant rally earlier in the week, and we've since cooled off from that. We're about 11% off of its all-time high, but we're sitting at the low just for the month. So we didn't really depreciate anywhere far. We're sitting right in a little pocket that we've seen this month. And to speak in chart terms, it's positioning a double bottom. So it fell, hit this level once. We saw it rally. Now it fell, hit this level a second time. And what that tells me is if it holds this level and moves up forward, we're going to see Bitcoin rally pretty strongly. So with that anticipation, I am buying Bitcoin this week. And like other examples in this episode, it is trading at its 3-month average. So for all of those reasons, I am a buyer of Bitcoin. And I would like to say I do invest in crypto, but I don't invest in meme coins or silly projects or altcoins or anything of that nature. I don't invest in the coin, I invest in the technology. And Bitcoin has the technology that will lead us to a new innovative future. I would also just like to give some honorable mentions if we're talking about crypto. I have Ethereum, I have Cardano, I have Mana, and I have XRP. So all of those are fantastic. I would also like to throw in Polygon if I'm naming them all. And yes, I'm a believer in crypto, but I'm a believer in utility value. So those are the cryptos that I am buying. And with all things said, you can invest in any of these stocks with any budget. And if you're asking yourself, how would you do it with any budget? Let's say you have $25 that you could invest with this week. You could take that 25 and break it into five $5 increments and invest that $5 into each of these companies. And I know $5 in a stock like Caterpillar worth $400 a share, it doesn't seem like you're really getting much, but you are. You're investing in these companies, you're owning these companies, because each share of stock represents a piece of ownership in these companies. You don't just own shares, you own the company itself. Granted, it might be 0.000001%, you do still own a fraction of these companies. So with that, any amount of money is money invested into the ownership of these companies. And if you're holding these companies over a longer tenure of time, they will appreciate in value. And if you are getting paid that dividend income, it's just a further snowball effect generating more money for you. So all my other episodes are available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And always feel free to ask me any financial questions you may have. My mission is to not only make you money with the stock market, but to make sure you feel confident about it. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.